Our next position group that we want to talk about is the offensive line. And the offensive line has obviously seen, there's going to be some turnover there. We still have a question mark about Patterson. Is Jarrett Patterson going to come back? Is he going to stay? That's a big question mark right now. Josh Lugg has already decided that he's coming back, which I think is a very interesting thing that we're going to talk about as well. We touched on this a few weeks ago, Brian, when we were talking about, what do these guys do that have a decision to make and what do we think that they should do, et cetera. But Josh Lugg is coming back. And then you've got Quinn Carroll, who decided that he's going to enter the transfer portal. Not overly surprising. He's a tackle. And, Notre Dame started
guard.
Yeah. Notre Dame started 2 true freshmen at tackle, in the Fiesta Bowl. So, I mean, I get it to a degree. I do. I'm not overly surprised about that. But still, there's turnover that we need to talk about on the offensive line for sure.
And I don't think he's going to be the last offensive lineman to transfer. I think we'll see something else. We'll see somebody else leave. I don't know who that's going to be. That's not a I know, but I'm not telling you. It's not that. It's I just feel like there's 17 guys, whether that's John Dirksen taking a 5th year somewhere, whether that's, because look, here's what's going to happen, right? When you hire new position coaches, especially offensive line, because the numbers are good there, coaches are going to sit down and say, hey, look, love you, but you just don't really fit into what I'm looking for.
Sure.
And, you can stay and I'll coach you up and I'll coach you hard and all that other kind of stuff. But I'm just telling you right now, you're going to have a tough time getting on the field.
Right.
And that's going to free up some guys, which would then open up some scholarship numbers in the 2023 class.
And they're going to need that. I mean, Notre Dame's going to need some scholarships to open up here. I mean, just to get to the 85 for the 22 season, right? I mean, with some of the guys that have decided to come back, and obviously and Josh Lugg is one of those. For me, anyway, I kind of anticipated that Josh Lugg would either, try to take his talents to the next level or do a grad transfer someplace else. But he has decided to come back, and that means he was asked to come back, right?
He was. So there's 2 things about that one. So let's just dive into the Josh Lugg one now. Okay, number one is I love Josh Lugg. He is one of my favorite recruits to cover. I got to know Josh personally pretty well during his recruitment, and he's a really good, fun kid, really nice kid. But here's my issues. Number one, he's not a natural tackle. Number 2, I thought he was going to be out of high school. The reason I say he's not a natural tackle now, he's not the athlete he was coming out of high school because of the injuries. He's had back injuries, knee injuries. He's had a lot of injuries that have made him a little bit of a step slower than what he was coming out of high school. I mean, if Josh Lugg this year was the guy he was in 2019 when he started at right tackle, we're having a different conversation about bringing Josh Lugg back because I don't think he's coming back. I think he's going to the NFL. But he hasn't been that guy, which is why we said this offseason you needed to move him to guard where he's not playing in space.
Right.
So, number one, I fully anticipate them, from what I'm told, I anticipate them moving him to guard, whether that's going to be day 1 of fall camp or, in spring practice, or if it's as things go on and Coach Easton, who we think will be the next offensive line coach, kind of goes through things. I think you look at it and say, okay, well, then I could see Josh Lugg moving quickly, and I think he'll move somewhat soon, if not before. So I think putting him at guard puts him in a much better position to not only maintain a starting job, but to potentially thrive if he can stay healthy. But that's the big if about Josh Lugg.
Sure.
And that's the risk you run is, let's just say Josh comes in and the other thing he was told flat out, you are not promised a starting job. He understood that coming in. And I was told it was actually announced to the team in front of Josh that he's not promised a job to the offensive line, or at least the offense. I was told it was announced to them to the point that that's how much Josh loves Notre Dame. Josh wants one more year at Notre Dame. Is kind of the way it was portrayed.
I appreciate that. I like that.
Big time.
That's great.
Big time. He wants to be a part of what they're
doing.
Somebody
who wants to be there. It's a novel idea, right? I mean, they're not just there to necessarily improve their draft stock. Obviously, that will come with the territory if you're playing for Harry Hiestand, in my opinion. But the fact that he just wants to be there, and his post that he put out there was basically about the team. It's like he wants to be there and be with the team. Like, that's the stuff I miss, honestly, about this day and age with football.
Yeah, I want to address something else here real quick. This kind of I think he's trying to be funny, but it kind of annoys me. Joe Marnell says, Brian, I do need to throw you a little elbow. Back mid-season when Kelly was here, I remember Harry Heaston ain't walking through the door. LOL. Think we're all happy that changed.
Well, there was
what
a reason
part of
for
that? Yeah, because Kelly was here.
Yeah.
Harry Heaston was not coming back into coaching to go anywhere other than Notre Dame, and he wasn't coming back to Notre Dame because Brian Kelly was here.
Right.
So that's absolutely where it was. Now, if you want to say, okay, you knew midway through the season when we were talking about that Brian Kelly was leaving after the year, good on you. I didn't. So, yes, Harry Heaston was not coming back to Notre Dame unless Brian Kelly left. That's 100% fact. In fact, I was told by a couple sources that Notre Dame pursued him this season to see if he would come back and help, and he said no.
Right.
Because he doesn't want to work with Brian Kelly. Well, Brian Kelly's not here anymore. And so that's why Harry Heaston's coming back. And if you notice, Harry Heaston didn't pursue anyone, right? So if you knew that he was going to come back, or if you knew Kelly was leaving, then you can say you can be critical of when I said he's not leaving or he's not coming back. Okay, if you knew that, but I'm assuming you didn't. So anyway, back to the topic at hand. I think Josh Lugg getting to play for the coach that recruited him here is something, if you're him, is going to be a little bit attractive too. Because this is who he got coached by as a freshman.
Exactly.
This is who he came to Notre Dame to play for.
Right.
If you're Josh Lugg and you want a chance to play at the next level, then you're going to want to, that Harry Heaston's your best chance to make that happen.
Yeah, no question.
I also think if Josh moves to guard and he's healthy, you've got an immediate upgrade at right guard.
Yes, sir.
Now,
you and I were talking about this as you were stranded on the runway yesterday. About
2.5 stinking.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. Anyway, we were talking about, like, look, if Lugg is healthy, I think he's one of the top 5 guys. And if he's one of the top 5 guys, you get him on the field, right? I mean, that's how I personally feel. I've always been a Josh Lugg fan. And once we found out that he was playing so injured this year, I mean, obviously it answered a lot of the questions that I had about his play and things of that nature, because he didn't play great at times. I mean, there's no question about it, right? From a technical standpoint, he didn't play well. If he's healthy and he moves to guard, I still feel like he's one of the 5 best on this team. And that can only help Notre Dame.
If he's one of the 5 best and they start him, then I think that'll help Notre Dame, because it means that Josh had a good offseason, he's healthy and all those things. 100% agree. Because I
only want the top.
Good football
if
player.
He's not the top 5, I don't want him on the field. I mean, that's
the key is right. The key is going to be, you don't just move him and all of a sudden he's the guy, and you see what happened with Kane Madden this year, where he's going to play no matter what. I mean, you can't have that, right? It has to be he was better than other guys. You need to make sure that Andrew Kristofic and Rocco Spindler, and if he comes back, a John Dirksen or a Michael Carmody and guys like that are given every opportunity to beat him out. Because if Josh is going to stay in the starting lineup, he needs to have beaten some guys out, okay? And what you don't want to have happen is what happened with Kane. That's the mistake Coach Easton can't make relative to the one that Jeff Quinn made, which is no matter what Kane Madden did this year, nobody else is getting a shot at right guard. Nobody. And to me, that can't be the case this year. Right. So let's just say that Patterson comes back. You've got Zeke Correll, you've got Andrew Kristofic, you've got Josh Lugg, you've got Rocco Spindler, you've got Michael Carmody, you've got a lot of guys in that battle to be, the left and right guard. Obviously, Andrew Kristofic started this year. It's kind of funny, people automatically assuming he's going to get beat out by either Rocco or Josh Lugg. Andrew Kristofic played pretty good football this year when he got in the lineup. Now, he's got to get better, right?
Absolutely.
He's got to get better, for no question about it, especially in the run game. But he played pretty good football. So as long as there's a legitimate battle, then I don't care who starts.
Right.
That's always my thing. I don't pick.
That's
I don't care about winners and losers. If I think a kid's really good and somebody else legitimately beats him out, that means that guy must be really good, because the other kid I thought was a pretty good player. So that's going to be the interesting thing for Coach Easton, is he's going to have to make sure that it's not just a young guys playing because situation, which wasn't all. I mean, he started redshirt freshman. He started true freshman. He played Ronnie Stanley and Steve Elmer as true freshmen.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we've seen him play younger guys before. I don't think that's going to be a question. It's just as long as those guys are being given a chance to earn it. And the other nice thing too, is with Harry Heastand walking to the door, everybody's kind of got a fresh start.
Exactly. Exactly. Because he didn't recruit the vast majority of the guys that are going to be in that room. Now, he's probably watched them from afar, but remember the first few years, he actually did have a job coaching in the NFL. So, I mean, he wasn't just watching Notre Dame and be like, okay, when I get back there, I want to make sure I know who these guys are. Now, he's throwing the film in now, and he's starting to watch what these guys can do, et cetera. But he's coming in fresh. I mean, the one thing we always said when Harry Heastand was the coach is he's going to find the 5 best linemen, and he's going to figure out how to get them on the field. No matter who the center is, no matter who the guards are, no matter who the tackles are, Harry Heastand is going to get the 5 best guys, and he's going to get them on the field. And I love that strategy, right? His 2 strategies that I love the most is he would recruit tackles and turn them into whatever he needed to turn them into. And then he would figure out who the 5 best linemen are, and those are the guys that played. And that's what I love about Harry Heastand. It's fundamentals, and it's the best guys on the field, regardless of age, regardless of whatever.
Right.
Those guys are the ones that are going to play. And, hey, you've never snapped the ball before, but you're one of my 5 best, so guess what? We're going to teach you how to be a center. I love that. I think that's outside the box thinking.
We also have a super chat from the Spanky. It says, thank you, Jason, for that. Brian, I'm also going to throw an elbow at you. You said midseason that I wouldn't have been able to sack you back when we were both in high school primes, and we are all sure as no, that wasn't true. Jason, you couldn't sack me now. When we were definitely in our primes, you definitely wouldn't have sacked me. I can guarantee you of that, my friend. And you're just going to eventually one of these days, Jason, you're just going to have to learn to embrace that reality that you could not have sacked me. So I'm sorry to hurt you. I know this has been a sore spot for you for about the last 10 years when we've had these conversations, but sometimes it's time to come out of la la land and get back to reality of the situation. But Jason, thank you for that super chat, my friend. I really do appreciate it. And then Patrick Bird did say this. He says, hasn't Lugg been injured every year? I like the guy all heart, but just worry about injury. Yeah, that's my concern.
It's legit.
And at the end of the day, that's my biggest concern is let's say Josh comes back. He's doing really well, earns the starting right guard job, which means fewer snaps for Rocco Spindler or Billy Schrouth or whoever those guys are. And then he gets hurt again. And those guys are thrust into the lineup where they received how many fewer snaps than they otherwise would have. That's the risk that you run bringing Josh Lugg back. And the point that I've tried to make to people is it's not always just about you need depth, you need competition. That's all true. But you also have to be smart enough about it to say, hey, if we're going to have competition, we need to make sure that we're putting guys in a situation where they're getting the reps necessary to develop as players. When a 6th-year senior is battling against a freshman who played 5 snaps this year in Rocco Spindler, the 6-year guy is going to always have the edge in that regards in practice, right? And so that's the concern. A guy like Rocco Spindler needs the reps to go out there and prove that he can develop and become that kind of player. And right now, with all the numbers, I mean, again, if John Dirksen leaves, you're going to have 16 offensive linemen on the roster next year as of right now. Now, that could change if Jarrett Patterson goes pro and somebody else transfers and all that, but we can only go off what we know right now. And I think that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
So
at the very least, Josh Lugg provides you quality depth.
Yes.
I mean, at
the very least, correct. But again, I still am concerned that if he does get injured again, you've now taken reps away. And that's something you have to consider when you're in. Doesn't mean you don't bring him back.
Sure.
It just needs to be part of the equation that you're looking into on this one. But I hope Josh does well. I like Josh. I mean, look, I'm taking my analyst hat off for a second, just going human being. I like Josh Lugg a lot, and I hope he does well. I mean, I really do hope he does well because he's a really good kid. Comes from a good family. You know, he's battled through a ton of injuries in his career and has never complained about it. And I mean, Marcus Freeman even said he already had a meniscus problem before the bowl game, before even, you know, I mean, he's playing with a bum knee. So I look at it and I just feel like, you know, I root for the kid. Then you put the analyst hat back on and you say, but he's going to have to play a lot better than he has the last 2 years if he wants to keep that job.